In the world of global football, money does not just follow the game, it controls it. Behind the goals, the trophies, and the roaring crowds lies a network of deals that most fans never see. Broadcast rights worth millions, contracts negotiated in private rooms, decisions that shape who profits and who doesn't. For years, companies and executives competed fiercely for control over these rights, because controlling the game off the pitch can be even more valuable than playing it on the pitch. That is where the story of Hernan Lopez and Full Play Group begins, at the center of one of the biggest football corruption cases in modern history. Prosecutors in the United States accuse them of something serious, not just unethical behavior, but organized corruption. They allege that millions of dollars were paid in bribes to football officials. The goal? To secure lucrative broadcasting rights for major tournaments, competitions, followed by millions across continents, including South America's most prestigious club tournament. The kind of deals that determine who controls what the world watches and who gets paid for it. According to investigators, this was not a one-time transaction. It was part of a broader system, a system where influence could be bought, where decisions were shaped behind closed doors, and where fairness was not always the deciding factor. This case was tied to the wider FIFA corruption scandal, a sweeping investigation that exposed corruption across international football governance. Dozens of officials were implicated. Millions in illicit payments were uncovered. And for the first time, the inner workings of football's business side were placed under a global spotlight. When the case against Lopez and Full Play moved forward, it appeared to be another step toward accountability. Evidence was presented, arguments were made, and eventually, a conviction was secured. At that moment, it seemed like the system was working, that even at the highest levels, corruption could be challenged, that no one was beyond reach. But what happened next would change the story completely, because in a case involving millions of dollars, global tournaments, and years of investigation, the outcome did not follow the expected path. And the question that followed would be far more unsettling than the crime itself. What happens when a corruption case doesn't end with justice, but simply disappears? When a corruption case reaches the level of international football, its impact is never contained. It spreads across borders, across leagues, across organizations, across millions of fans who may never know the full story. The allegations involving Hernan Lopez and Full Play Group were not just about one deal. They pointed to something larger, a system where broadcasting rights, one of the most valuable assets in football, could be influenced through hidden payments. For fans, these deals are invisible. They simply watch the matches. But behind every broadcast is a chain of decisions determining who controls the rights, who distributes the content, and who profits from it. When that chain is compromised, the integrity of the entire system is questioned. Because if rights can be secured through bribery, then competition off the pitch is no longer fair. And when competition off the pitch is distorted, it inevitably affects what happens on it. Clubs, leagues, and federations rely heavily on broadcast revenue. It funds player salaries, infrastructure, development programs. If those revenues are influenced by corruption, then resources are no longer distributed based on merit or value. They are influenced by access, by relationships, by money moving in the shadows. The ripple effect extends into governance structures tied to global football bodies like FIFA. Because when corruption cases emerge repeatedly, they begin to shape public perception. Fans start to question decisions, not just in business, but in competition. Was that contract awarded fairly? Was that tournament organized transparently? Doubt begins to replace trust, and once trust is weakened, every decision becomes suspect. The impact also reaches broadcasters and sponsors. Companies investing millions into football expect stability and credibility. When corruption cases dominate headlines, that confidence is shaken. Legal risks increase. Reputational damage becomes a concern. And the cost of doing business in football rises. For players and smaller organizations, the ripple is even more indirect, but no less significant. When financial systems are distorted, opportunities shift. Some leagues gain advantages, others fall behind, and the gap between those with influence and those without continues to widen. What makes this case particularly unsettling is not just the scale of the allegations, but what happened after. Because the ripple of corruption is one thing, the ripple of uncertainty is another. When a major case moves through courts, reaches conviction, and then suddenly changes direction, it creates a different kind of impact. Not just about corruption, but about accountability itself. And that ripple can be even more dangerous. At first, the case followed a path that suggested accountability was possible. After years of investigation tied to the FIFA corruption scandal, prosecutors built their argument carefully. Evidence was presented, financial records examined, witness testimonies introduced. The accusations against Hernan Lopez and full play group were not vague. They were specific. Payments allegedly made to secure broadcasting rights. Deals structured to influence outcomes. The kind of activity that prosecutors argued distorted fair competition in the business of football. In 2023, the case reached a critical moment, a conviction. For many observers, it signaled something important, that even powerful executives operating within global football networks could be held accountable, that the legal system could reach into complex international deals and deliver consequences. But the story did not end there, because shortly after, the legal process took an unexpected turn. The conviction was overturned. Questions emerged about how the law had been applied. Arguments shifted from what happened to how it was interpreted. Appeals followed. Legal teams challenged the framework of the charges. And for a moment, the case seemed to exist in a state of uncertainty, neither fully resolved nor fully dismissed. Then came the most surprising development. The U.S. Department of Justice moved to drop the charges entirely, not because the allegations had been proven false, not because the case lacked evidence, but because continuing the prosecution was no longer considered a priority. Resources, time, strategic focus, those became the deciding factors. And just like that, a case that had taken years to build began to dissolve. For investigators and observers, this raised difficult questions. What does it mean when a corruption case reaches conviction and still does not result in lasting consequences? What does it say about the limits of legal systems when dealing with complex global networks? Because the investigation had revealed something real, a system vulnerable to influence, a structure where money and access could shape outcomes. But when the process ended without resolution, the message became unclear. Was justice achieved or simply interrupted? And in that uncertainty, a new concern emerged. Not just about corruption itself, but about whether it can truly be challenged at the highest levels. When a case of this magnitude ends without a clear resolution, the consequences do not stay inside the courtroom. They spread outward, into the system, into the industry, into the minds of everyone watching. For global football, the message becomes complicated, because the case involving Hernan Lopez and Full Play Group was never just about two entities. It was about what the system allows and what it ultimately enforces. When allegations of bribery reach conviction, only to be overturned and eventually dropped, the signal sent to the world is not clear accountability. It is uncertainty. For fans, that uncertainty turns into doubt. They begin to question not just the business side of football, but the integrity of the entire ecosystem. Because if major corruption cases can fade without resolution, then what guarantees fairness elsewhere? That doubt is powerful. It changes how people watch the game. Moments that once felt purely competitive begin to carry suspicion. Decisions behind tournaments, broadcasting, and organization no longer feel neutral. They feel influenced. For governing bodies like FIFA, the stakes are even higher, because credibility is everything. Without it, every initiative, every reform, every statement is questioned. The sponsors and commercial partners feel the pressure as well. They invest in football for visibility and association with a global passion. But when corruption dominates narratives, the risk shifts. Reputation becomes fragile, and trust becomes harder to maintain. Even beyond business, the consequences reach something deeper: belief. Football thrives because people believe in it. They believe in competition, in fairness, in the idea that what happens on the pitch is earned. But when high-profile cases fail to deliver clear outcomes, that belief weakens. And once belief begins to crack, rebuilding it is difficult. Because transparency is not just about exposing wrongdoing. It is about proving that accountability exists. And in this case, that proof feels incomplete. For those operating within the system, the implications are equally serious. If enforcement appears inconsistent, it changes behavior. It reshapes risk. It sends a message, not about what is right or wrong, but about what is likely to be punished and what might not be. That shift is subtle but powerful, because systems are defined not just by rules, but by how those rules are applied. And when application becomes uncertain, the system itself becomes unstable. In the end, this case does not conclude with a clear sense of justice. There is no final verdict that settles every question, no definitive moment where accountability is fully established. Instead, it leaves something far more complex behind: uncertainty, because the case involving Hernan Lopez and full playgroup did not collapse in the way most people expect. It did not fall apart due to lack of evidence. It did not end because the allegations were proven false. It ended because the system chose to move on, and that decision changes how the entire story is understood. Across global football, conversations about corruption are no longer just about what happens, but about what happens next. Because exposure alone is not enough. Investigation alone is not enough. Even conviction, as this case showed, may not be enough. What ultimately defines a system is whether it follows through, whether it enforces consequences consistently, whether accountability is not just possible, but inevitable. For organizations connected to global football governance, including FIFA, that challenge remains ongoing. Reforms have been introduced. Oversight has improved in certain areas. But trust is not rebuilt through policy alone. It is rebuilt through action, through outcomes that leave no ambiguity. Because in a system where outcomes remain uncertain, doubt continues to grow. For fans, the impact is quiet but lasting. They still watch the matches. They still celebrate the goals. But somewhere beneath that passion, a question lingers. Is everything as it seems? That question does not disappear easily. For the business side of football, the stakes are even higher. Broadcast deals will continue. Money will keep flowing. But with every new agreement, the shadow of past cases remains. A reminder that transparency cannot be assumed. It must be proven, again and again. And for the future of the game, that may be the most important lesson of all. Because football does not just rely on talent or competition. It relies on belief. Belief that the system is fair. Belief that success is earned. And belief that when rules are broken, there are consequences. If that belief weakens, the game itself begins to change. Not on the surface, but at its core. And in the end, the question this case leaves behind is simple. If justice can be delayed, redirected, or abandoned, then who exactly is the game protecting?